you ever feel someone watching you from the other side of the glass? They say mirrors are windows, but they never tell you what's waiting in the dark reflection. Long before it was a sleepover game, her name was whispered in sheer, absolute terror. Hundreds burned at the stake. A monarch who washed her golden crown in the suffering of the innocent. But the blood didn't stop flowing when the queen died. It seeped deeply into the cold stones. The screams faded into the fog. But the curse was just beginning to take root. Over centuries, the legend mutated. The queen morphed into a countess, bathing in crimson to stay young, iron cages and rusty spikes. Vanity is a trap that demands a heavy, bloody toll. She sought immortality in the veins of others, drowning her humanity in a porcelain tub. The more you look at yourself,
isn't it beautiful?
The more of your soul you surrender to the glass. And then the story crossed the ocean, hiding in the rain, knocking on the windows of the new world. Deep in the woods, away from the cities, an outcast witch stealing children in the dead of night. Mary Worth. The forest remembers her footsteps, and the soil still bleeds where she walked. They say if you look into her dead eyes, you will see the exact moment of your own demise. Blood and bone. Rituals of the old world twisting into nightmares of the new. The truth is buried in the dust of history. But the ritual never dies. 100 years ago, in grand mansions, they walked backward up the stairs, desperate to see the future, holding a candle in the trembling dark, hoping to catch a glimpse of a lover's face. But the shadows always twist. They warp our desires into our deepest, darkest fears. Because if you were marked for death, you wouldn't see a man. You'd see the end. The Grim Reaper would stare back, smiling through the shattered glass of your face. That was the old way. The new way is so much worse. It always starts exactly the same. A quiet suburban house, a rainy night, a dare among friends, a childish joke whispered in a bedroom, a dare you really shouldn't take. Go to the bathroom,
it got closer
they say.
And closer until finally
turn off the lights.
It was inside the room with
say
them.
Say her name. It seems like a harmless game, but your racing, hammering heart knows the truth. You walk the dark hallway alone. The silence presses against your ears like a heavy weight. Your hand shakes on the doorknob. This is the moment you should turn back, but you push the door open. You step into the pitch black. You face the empty glass. The match strikes. A tiny flicker of light in an ocean of absolute, suffocating darkness. 3 candles. 3 chances to walk away before you wake what sleeps in the silver. You stare into your own eyes. The background is swallowed by the void. You open your mouth. The air in your lungs suddenly feels cold and heavy as lead. Drip. Drip. The water marks the seconds ticking down to your worst nightmare. The shadows in the corners stretch. They are listening. They are waking up. Science calls it the strange face illusion. Your brain panicking in the dim light. Your mind misfires, distorting your reflection into a monster. That's what the scientists say. But scientists don't know what happens when the wind blows in a sealed room. Your face rots before your eyes. The illusion takes control, dragging you down. You try to raise your hand, but the thing in the mirror refuses to obey your commands. Bloody Mary. You whisper it once. The flames turn the color of a freezing, shallow grave. Bloody Mary. You say it twice. The glass begins to freeze over, trapping the heat. Bloody Mary. The third time is the key turning in the lock. The door is opened. Dead fingers tap against the barrier. A polite request to enter your world. The walls close in. The air smells of ancient copper and damp, decaying earth. Two red eyes pierce the darkness, an ancient rage waking from a centuries-long slumber. The water runs red. The sins of the past bleeding violently into the present. She steps into the light, a rotting corpse wrapped in tragedy, vanity, and endless vengeance. A silent scream tears from her throat, promising an eternity of unbearable suffering. The glass fractures under her fury. The fragile barrier between our worlds is finally broken. A single drop of cursed blood seeps into reality. The seal is permanently shattered. You fall to the floor, realizing the game was never a game. It was an invitation. The shadows contort into claws, binding you tightly to the cold, hard tiles. You rattle the door handle. It won't budge. You locked it yourself, didn't you? She pulls herself through the jagged frame, defying the laws of life and death. Her long hair turns to ash. Her presence suffocates the very oxygen in the room. Those crimson eyes lock onto yours. She knows your secrets. She feeds on your terror. She floats forward, bringing the freezing, biting cold of the abyss directly to you. She towers above you, a horrific monument to every nightmare humanity ever dreamed. The last thing you see is your own terrified face, reflected in her lifeless, dead pupil. And then, nothing. Just the spark in the absolute void. But the curse doesn't end in that bathroom. It wanders. It seeks. It hungers. It lingers in old, forgotten graveyards, scratching names deep into the weathered stone. The animals know. They watch the shadows shift. They see what we cannot see. They scream a silent warning into the morning mist. But humans never listen. A tribute left for the dead. A blood-red rose for a bloody, vengeful queen. The journals of those who tried to document the curse. Their frantic words always fade away. Ink turns to blood. Logic turns to madness. The symbols rewrite themselves. Because the mirror is everywhere. It is any reflection, any pane of glass. It stands waiting in the dark, reflecting the parts of yourself you desperately hate. It defies all reason. It reflects what is truly there, stripped of the comforting lies of light. Another curious soul steps into the trap, always searching blindly for the unknown. The light is swallowed whole. The darkness is absolute and uncompromising. Hesitation is the first sign of doom. Once you step forward, you can never go back. The glass ripples like a frozen, deep lake, hiding a terrible secret beneath the ice. His reflection smiles, though his physical face is frozen in pure, unadulterated dread. The hands reach out. They pull you down into the deep, dark water of the other side, consumed by the glass. Just another lost soul trapped behind the silver layer. The light dies completely. The world moves on, entirely oblivious to the missing. The entity thrives in places of pain, abandoned asylums, forgotten rotting halls, walking corridors where echoes of madness still bounce off the peeling green paint, doors scratched by those frantically trying to escape the faces waiting in the windows, peering into cells where the darkness is thicker and heavier than the air itself, trapped, bloodshot eyes staring out, begging for a release that will never, ever come. Tapes left behind in the dust. Audio logs of the damned, whispering her forbidden name. Session 47. They made him look. They made him chant the words until he broke. They watched him from behind the two-way glass. They truly thought they were safe. Sitting in the sterile chair, waiting for the monster to finally appear in the room. But the monster wasn't in the room with him. It was living inside the glass itself. The observers became the observed. The demon watched them right back, a bloody print on the glass. A solemn promise of the horrific slaughter to follow. The curse bleeds effortlessly into the modern world. Rain-slicked streets and buzzing neon signs. A puddle on the ground becomes a gateway to hell, waiting for a careless footstep. The illusion shatters, but the profound damage is already permanently done. Broken car windows reflect fractured, deeply broken minds walking in the rain. 1,000 screaming faces, trapped forever in 1,000 tiny shards of safety glass. The sky itself turns against us. A vortex of despair slowly swallowing the entire city. Technology offers absolutely no protection. The screens are just mirrors made of glass and wire. The static calls to us. A mesmerizing lullaby of white noise hiding a terrible frequency. Subliminal horror. Flashing skulls hidden carefully in the spaces between the frames. The black sludge of the abyss pours directly into our living rooms, staining the floors. We put our children in front of the glowing boxes. We willingly invite the curse inside, hypnotized by the artificial glow, entirely unaware of the shadows gathering in the corners. The screen becomes a hallway, a dark, endless tunnel leading nowhere good. A pale hand reaching from the dark, hovering just inches away from the innocent. The mirror always tells the brutal truth. The monster is already inside the house with you. The illusion shatters. The screen violently explodes. The true nightmare begins. Sometimes the terror comes when you least expect it. In the bright, safe light of day, you feel completely safe. You look at your perfect reflection. You let your guard down. Crystal clear water. A perfect morning. The nightmare feels millions of miles away, but the glass remembers everything. The curse is infinitely patient. A single crack is all it takes. The sun turns to blood. The comforting safety of the day is violently stripped away in an instant. The fracture spreads. Your perfect, carefully constructed life shatters into geometric ruin. The water turns to boiling pitch. The corruption of the curse is absolute and final. Everything rots. Time accelerates. Death comes for the very room itself. 1,000 jagged pieces of glass. 1,000 demonic eyes watching you panic and bleed. The shadow blocks out the sun entirely. The entity steps confidently through the shattered portal, needle teeth and endless ravenous hunger. There is absolutely no escaping the consequences of the dare. You are pulled screaming into the void, a dimension of floating glass and infinite, crushing dark, floating through a graveyard of mirrors, hearing the echoes of every fool who ever played the game. The monolithic heart of the curse pulses heavily with a sickening, malevolent red light. Countless lost souls trapped like flies in amber, pounding endlessly on the unbreakable barrier. Eternal agony, immortalized in silver and glass. This is the ultimate fate of the deeply curious. The pressure builds. The entity cannot be contained forever. It wants more souls. The glass explodes. The curse is scattered like a plague to the violent winds of the multiverse. A single shard falls through the dark. And in it, you clearly see your own face. You snap back to reality. The dark bathroom, the dying candle. Was it all just in your head? The mirror is whole. The room is quiet, but your heart is still pounding in your chest. The candle dies, the smoke rises, and you realize the reflection you are looking at isn't yours anymore. If you survived this nightmare, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and never, ever look behind you.